show. You can't keep doing this. Look, as a YouTuber, I have to pull a lot of all-nighters editing, so my sleep schedule is pretty screwed up as it is. You making it damn near impossible to stay awake during your episodes is not helping. Hit the intro. Well, that episode was a change. And I mean that. This episode made some truly revolutionary strides by only waiting until the 31-minute mark for something to happen. Absolutely edge-of-your-seat stuff, let me tell you. Everything before that... Look, the episode was sort of an improvement in that they minimized the stuff that didn't need to exist, and the stuff they focused on was at least story and character related. So the stream of semi-relevant information has been increased from a drip to a trickle, but the pacing, my god, the pacing of this show could put an insomniac into a coma. And how much you care about that semi-relevant information is still kind of dependent on how much you care about the race-religion stuff and the Pakistani folklore that's been all over this show, which, judging by the viewership figures for the first episode, I don't know that a ton of people do. And someone in the comments of the episode 2 video brought this up. Why are they focusing so much on the race-religion aspect instead of adventure and superheroics and what have you? And the answer, I think, is pretty simple. The Kamala Khan character was created with two major defining traits. Well, technically three. Her race/religion, the Captain Marvel fandom, and being an Inhuman. Well, the Inhuman thing, that's gone, so there go any stories you could tell with that. As I explained in the first video, the Captain Marvel fandom really doesn't make sense in the context of the show. Not surprising to see that angle disappear as quickly as it did. So take that stuff away, and what are they left with? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This character has never really been that complex. When you create a character, or a show for that matter, for the specific purpose of being representation, eventually you're gonna run into the problem of there not being much else to them, which was on full display in this episode. And I know I keep saying this, but it bears repeating. There's nothing really objectionable about the character here. It's just all extremely basic, simple, run-of-the-mill stuff. Kamala's worried that she can't be a hero, she gets advice from some people, she tries to be a hero, and that's pretty much it. It's the same standard paint-by-numbers, one-dimensional origin story you've seen 1,000 times. There's nothing particularly deep or ambitious or compelling about it, and there's no big narrative hook or innovative action scenes to lure you in aside from that, which is why the show has been so fucking boring so far. Because when you get right down to it, there really isn't that much here. Anyway, episode 3 begins with a flashback to British-occupied India in 1942. But don't get excited for any potential big set pieces, they don't have any of that stuff. It's a bunch of people, Vision Lady and a few others, in some kind of ancient temple that's half demolished, so it just looks like a bunch of wreckage and we hardly see any of it. They're searching through the wreckage looking for the bangle, one of them finds it and wonders if they should be concerned that it's attached to a severed arm. Possibly, but I'd be a little more concerned that the severed arm in question is fucking blue! But none of them seem to think that's weird at all. Go figure. There's some kind of commotion outside. Apparently the British are raiding the place, so they don't have much time. But they cut to a different camera angle for a second, and we see that carved into the floor is the insignia of the 10 rings from Shang-Chi. So the bangle and the 10 rings have to be connected somehow. Easily the most interesting thing that happens in this episode. We get a little exposition. There's 2 bangles, and they need both to do what they want to do, which is go home, but where home is, we don't know. One of them tries on the bangle, and this, I believe, is Kamala's great-grandmother, the one who mysteriously disappeared. It makes her eyes light up for a second, but then the British are coming, and the temple is falling apart around them, so they have to split up. Then we pick up where episode 2 left off. Vision Lady has brought Kamala to her home, all those other people in her group are there too, and we get a pretty massive exposition dump, starting with the fact that all of them, including Kamala's great-grandma, who they haven't seen since that day, are from another dimension. And if anything here needed a flashback, you'd think it would have been that. But no, they just tell us about this. And Kamala, weirdly enough, has very few questions. If I'm Kamala, I'd want more information about this other dimension, but no dice. Then, more exposition. They were all exiled here for some reason. Why, they don't say. Kamala doesn't ask about that either. They sensed the presence of Noor when she put on the bangle. Noor means light, and Noor is in all of them. It slows down their aging, but they can't access its full potential in this dimension. But Kamala might be able to do that because she's from here. The bangle unlocked the Noor inside Kamala, and it might do the same for Kamran, but they don't know for sure. Kamala feels like a lot of bad things have happened because of this bangle, and she did almost drop a kid off a roof a few hours ago, so she's not too sure about any of this. But Vision Lady says Kamala inherited greatness, and it was her great-grandma's wish to bring them all home, and Kamala has to finish what she started. Still more exposition. In their home dimension, they're known as Clandestines. Oh, come on. Clandestine is a fun comic that could make for a cool show or movie at some point. Don't go stealing from them. But what they're most commonly known as is Jinn. So Kamala pays Bruno a visit, tells him everything the Clandestines just told her, and they need her help, which means she needs Bruno's help, and she asks him if he knows anything about interdimensional travel. As luck would have it, he does. Or he was just reading something about a guy who does. That dude who was buddies with Thor a few phases back. So Bruno's gonna research that while Kamala does much more boring stuff. But before she goes, Bruno shows her how last night's crappy rescue attempt has turned her into a living meme. Thanks, Twitter. I knew you'd be good for something eventually. Then we cut to the G-men from last week waltzing into the mosque, talking about a report they obviously never got about an enhanced individual operating out of this place, and it's in everyone's best interest to cooperate because this is serious business. But Nakia's there, and she's like, serious because the person of interest is enhanced? Or because she was spotted at a mosque? Oh, get over yourself. Yes, the G-men are being assholes, and yes, they're being written as racist, but there was a superpowered person involved in a near-death incident on the roof of this building last night. It's not unreasonable for them to have questions for the people who run this place. But these government thugs then have to bend the knee to this teenage girl who knows the legal system because she watches Law and Order. No, I'm not kidding. And GTFO until they have a warrant. So we immediately cut the G-men off at the knees, and just like that, there goes any sense of menace they might have had. So they're definitely off to a great start. Back at the con house, Kamala's busy watching Instagram videos of herself when Nakia barges in, complaining about how damage control barged into the mosque, having the audacity to investigate a superhuman incident in which someone nearly died at the mosque. Sons of bitches. And you know what the worst part is? Nakia's totally sure that damn Nightlight didn't even notice. And if she did notice, then she didn't care. Because Nightlight is just a bitch, I guess. And who uses a name like Nightlight anyway? Probably the kind of person who likes cars painted in the stupidest color ever. Black. Yeah. So Nakia's basing this on absolutely nothing. I have no idea where she's getting this from, other than the writers just needing to set up a conflict with Nakia for later and not knowing how to do it, so they're like, oh, she just gets mad at Ms. Marvel for a bunch of bullshit she pulls out of the air. Problem solved. And in other news, Nakia won the mosque board election. You know, that thing that was a weirdly big deal in the last episode? Yeah, that happened off screen, and I'm glad the writers decided that they didn't need to devote so much time to it after all, but I'm still scratching my head as to why they thought it needed to be a thing in the first place. And then it's time for the Mendy, which I think is like wedding prep or something similar. So there's a bunch of that stuff. There's food and hugging and drawing on people's hands and feet. In between all that, there's a mention about how Mama Khan's mother didn't come out for the wedding and didn't come to Mama Khan's wedding either, so their relationship isn't great. Also, there's a mention of that business at the mosque because of that damn Nightlight causing so much trouble, and that girl's mother should be ashamed of herself, which has Kamala feeling a little conflicted about all this. So she talks to the guy who runs the mosque, and she thought it would be cool if there was a superhero who fights for us, but maybe she's just making things worse. A superhero who fights for you, huh? Hey guys, did you know that when Spider-Man and Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Wong were fighting the children of Thanos on the streets of New York to stop them from getting the time stone Thanos needed to snap half the people in the universe out of existence, they weren't actually doing that for Pakistani people? Yeah, they were doing that for everybody else. But the Pakistani community? Anyone who wears a hijab or goes to a mosque? Them, am I right? Yes, I know what she really meant. I was being sarcastic. Don't at me. The guy points out that Nightlight did save that kid on the roof, so that's a thing. But how does she convince everyone that she's good? Good isn't a thing you are, it's a thing you do. Again, there's nothing bad about this exactly, but it's so basic you could probably predict what these characters were going to say before they said it, like I did when I was watching this scene. Also, Bruno made Kamala her very own superhero mask. If it means we've seen the last of that embarrassing cosplay mask she was wearing before, thank you, Bruno. Cut to the convenience store where Bruno works as well as lives. He's manning the counter while also researching Jin and Einstein-Rosen bridges because he's just a boss at multitasking, and Mr. Khan comes in for snacks and helpfully translates the Urdu the Jinn stuff is written in so we can get yet more exposition. Some people call them genies, others demons, and there's a legend about some hidden Jinn exiled from their home world and damned to live out their days trapped in this one, who lurk in the shadows, and to get home they need to unlock an ancient barrier with a primordial power. And this is starting to raise a few red flags for Bruno, so when he talks to Kamala about this later after running some simulations off-screen, he says that crossing between dimensions should be possible, but you'd need the base energy of the sun to do it, or a lesbian with a star motif, but they don't have any of those. And more disturbingly, the margin of error would be so crazy high that if they were to do this, there's a chance that a lot of things might blow up. Kamala hears this, and she's like, so you're saying there's a chance? Kamala's just hearing what she wants to hear, trying to talk herself into it because maybe this is what she needs to do to prove that she's good. And you kinda just want to smack her in this moment for being so thick-headed, but instead Bruno redirects the conversation by telling her that he got into Caltech, and he thinks he needs to go, but he can't leave with all this crazy shit going on, so he wants to help her figure it all out, but he just doesn't see a safe way to do it right now. Kamala really doesn't want to wait because Carol Danvers wouldn't wait, and I missed the part where Carol's secret identity was public knowledge. But Bruno points out that Carol Danvers would be reckless, a line that I'm honestly stunned made the final edit, and Bruno's not wrong about that either. And Kamala being so ridiculously dense aside, I like this scene because Bruno is being smart and talking sense, and I actually think we're meant to agree with him, at least partially. If this were Batwoman, everyone would blow him off, think he's full of crap, and then by the end of the episode he'd be proven to be completely wrong in embarrassing fashion. But no, not here. Bruno is right to have concerns about this, and it's a good thing he does because God knows somebody has to. Then Kamala talks to Mama Khan. She's having a tough time trying to decide what to do. She asks her mom if she ever wanted something so badly, but then it wasn't what she imagined, and Mama Khan relates the story of how they came to America, and that was really hard for a while, but they figured out how to make it work eventually. It's a sweet scene. The actors do a good job with this. So Kamala does some texting with Kamran, says she really wants to help, but it could be dangerous, so they need more time. He says they'll figure it out, and she should just focus on her brother's wedding, which is later that day. And the brother is kind of anxious about having only $700 in change in his bank account, and not even being done with grad school yet, and I have to agree, what are you getting married for then? Why not wait until after you graduate and get a job somewhere? What's the fucking rush? Beats me. Unless this is a shotgun wedding, in which case I don't know what your religion says about that, but I'm guessing there are rules against what you did to land yourself in this situation. But the dad gives him advice, tells him he's brave because he's choosing family, and one who chooses family is never alone. And Kamala eavesdrops on this. I don't know how that relates to what she's going through, but I guess it does somehow. Cut to Vision Lady reading the texts on Kamran's phone, and she is not happy. She knows this whole thing is dangerous, and she doesn't care. This dimension will never be their home, so she's going to make Kamala help them, and she's going to do it right now. There's an extended sequence of wedding stuff. They do the ceremony, and then there's dancing and partying. There's several minutes of this, and just when Kamala and Bruno are about to do a slow dance, that loser Kamran with his stupid abs and his stupid car rushes in and warns her that his mom and her cronies are about to come in and kill everybody. And on the cockblock scale, that rates well above what Bruno rated last week, so Bruno comes in second once again. Poor Bruno. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, eh, buddy? So we're at about the 31-minute mark, which means this episode is finally having something happen with 9 minutes left in the runtime. We're breaking bold new ground here. And sarcasm aside, this sequence is easily the best thing the show has done so far. One, because they ditched all the things we don't care about for action-adventure stuff to wake up the audience, and two, because it's all set to Livin' on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. The parents said Bon Jovi would make for great wedding music, and by God, they were right. Kamala pulls the fire alarm, people start evacuating, Vision Lady's people chase Kamala around the place, they go into the kitchen where the entire staff didn't hear the fire alarm for some reason, and not counting those idiots, this is all pretty enjoyable, because it's Kamala being scared shitless, running from adults who are clearly trained fighters, having no idea what to do, only managing to barely stay out of their grasp because she has powers that she barely knows how to use, and even then she's still kinda getting her ass kicked. And that was very refreshing. I was actually rooting for Kamala here. And I hate to keep comparing it to Batwoman, believe me I do, but I did put this out there last week so I might as well. If this were like Batwoman, Kamala would just obliterate these assholes so easily it'd be boring. But when you do it like this, there's actual suspense. There's a sense of danger. So, well done, show. More stuff like this, please. So the bad guys have these retractable weapons that just kind of pop up out of thin air, and Kamala has figured out how to use her hard light projections as shields, and also in one instance as armor. So yes, Kamala has literal plot armor, but she hasn't figured out offense yet, so she's really just trying to survive here. And she's doing pretty well for a minute, but finally she's cornered by one of them, but Bruno throws some stuff at this dude to distract him, so the guy knocks Bruno on his ass, and that gets Kamala pissed off, so she hauls back and nails this guy with Scanlan's hand. She might owe Critical Role some royalties on that, I'm not sure. Then she whips out Scanlan's hand again on the others, and it works pretty well, but they're only down for a second. So Kamala helps Bruno up, Kamran jumps in to hold the bad guys off while she gets Brian out of there, but then he gets taken out too. Finally, they're surrounded, it looks like they're up shit creek, then Vision Lady grabs the bangle, and it gives her and Kamala a vision of an oncoming train, which obviously relates to the story about the grandma from last week. But we don't get to see anything else, because the vision is interrupted when the thugs from Damage Control walk in, take the bad guys out with their extremely PG-rated CG weapons, and arrest everyone while Kamala and Bruno escape out the back door and run right into Nakia. Nakia sees Kamala using her powers, so the jig is up, and Nakia's pissed off that she was kept in the dark about this, but Kamala can't really stick around to talk it out, so Bruno tells Kamala to make like a tree and get out of here, and he'll explain everything to her. Okay. These 9-ish minutes right here, this is the direction the show needs to go in. There were no politics, no stupid stuff, no wasting time, no characters acting like idiots, just good old-fashioned fun, action, and superheroics in a dangerous situation with a character you can root for. If the whole show was like this, I would have a lot less to complain about. Why in these first 3 episodes this has been the exception rather than the rule, I couldn't tell you, but this was a step in the right direction. Now let's not take 2 steps back afterward, okay? So Kamala goes home, probably not the smartest thing to do, but hey, she's a kid. And to the parents' credit, they're not angry, they don't blow up at her, they're just really concerned and want to know what the hell's going on. She doesn't know what to tell them. And the episode ends with the grandma calling Kamala, saying that her and Mama Khan need to come to Karachi, wherever that is, because she saw the vision of the train too. Alright, for the first half hour or so, this episode is just more of the same stuff. The writers aren't totally phoning it in, but they're not really trying either. It's not so terrible that I have a burning desire to rip it to shreds, but anyone over the age of 10 will be able to tell exactly where the story's going beat for beat. It is less annoying here than it was in the first 2 episodes though, because now there's a pressing dilemma to give a shit about, and most of the time the story is focused on that, rather than the mosque board election or driving lessons or whatever. I don't think the stuff with the clandestines was done very well because that was a lot of telling and almost no showing. We really needed a flashback to the dimension they came from, and their sudden heel turn happened so damn fast, it's as if the writers were trying to make up for lost time or something, but at least we finally have a shark in the water that has a little more behind it than white people being racist. And like I said, the whole fight scene at the wedding was good stuff, because with that they just got back to basics and did the punchy boom boom stuff that Marvel projects can do in their sleep at this point. It was still nothing amazing, but it was more engaging than anything else the show has had to offer so far. If the next 3 episodes are more like that and less like the first 2 episodes, then the season ought to be able to end in better shape than it started, but that's all the credit I'm willing to give it for now. In the meantime though, they have to do something about the fucking pacing. They cannot keep structuring the episodes this way. The way it is right now, there's a few minutes of story at the beginning, a few minutes of story at the end, and a whole lot of nothing in the middle. These writers are not good enough to make the stuff in the middle compelling. The cast seems up for the challenge, the writers are clearly not. It might be unobjectionable for the most part, but that's not enough to carry this thing, okay? They need more stuff to happen. Right now, I feel like you could probably skip about 75% of the first 3 episodes and still be up to speed on all the important story elements. That doesn't work. And when your premiere's viewership is about half of what the previous record low for a Marvel Disney Plus show was, you need to start hitting the audience with both barrels, if you have them. So, and I'm dead serious when I say this, take what you did with the last 10 minutes here and apply that to the rest of the season. If you can't at least manage that much, you're in trouble. More so. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments. Ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel. Links to everything are down there. Thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. So you guys take care, do all the YouTube things. F*** you, Jersey. I'll see you next time.